AP will do it wrong, so we're here to do it right. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert here with our Week 5 GE Top 25 rankings, our official set of college football rankings that we bring you every single Monday right here on the channel. And there are tons of shakeups in this week's rankings. It looks drastically different than what we saw last week. That's what happens when 6 top 25 teams go down. 6 top 25 teams lost in week 4. We saw a handful of other teams win that looked really, really good. Some of those wins were really, really bad. And that, of course, had a major impact on our rankings as well. So we're not going to delay it any further. We do ask that you like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks, or some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. The link for that down in the description below. But let's go ahead and dive in to our top 25 rankings for this massive weekend of college football we have coming up. We'll start in the top 10, where the top 2 remain unchanged, but we do have a new number 3. Texas remains at number 1 following their 51-3 win over ULM. Arch Manning, of course, looking phenomenal. Had that one bad pick on the opening drive, and after that looked great. Yes, it was against ULM, but whether Quinn Ewers comes back, whether he doesn't, Texas is in a great shape at the quarterback position. So Texas remains at number 1. Georgia at number 2. They did not play this week. Georgia and Alabama both off in preparation for their game in Tuscaloosa this Saturday. And, of course, we'll have our official prediction out for that on Wednesday. We will give you a detailed analysis on Georgia and Alabama. Number 3, though, we've got Tennessee. Now, some would say that's too high. Some would say the Volunteers are too high, but look, I don't think so. When you look at the resume that Tennessee has right now through, 4 games this season, it's much better than that of Ohio State, much better than that of Alabama or Ole Miss. Tennessee has defeated NC State, and yes, I know NC State hasn't been great this year, but they beat a healthy NC State team that had Grayson McCall at the time, who was ranked at the time, at a neutral site, annihilated them by 41 points, and then last week went into Norman, that's not an easy place to play, and destroyed Oklahoma, beat them by 10 points. It was a lot worse than what that really showed. Tennessee was dominating that game, dominated it all game long. That first half was just horrible for the Sooners. They've got a great offense. Their defense maybe is even better than the offense, some would say. I mean, it's one of the best defenses in the country by far. I don't think that gets enough credit. So, yeah, I put Tennessee over Ohio State. An Ohio State team that's only beaten Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall, and really has started slow, very slow, in 2 of those 3 games. Yeah, they won big. Good for them. They haven't played anybody. Yes, I put them ahead of Alabama, whose best win is over a mediocre Wisconsin team on the road. I put them ahead of Ole Miss, whose best win is over a mediocre, subpar Wake Forest team. So, right now, Tennessee, at the time, has 2 ranked wins on their resume, both away from Knoxville, both away from Neyland Stadium. They beat NC State, a neutral site, beat Oklahoma on the road. I'm putting them up there at number 3. They have looked absolutely phenomenal all year long, and I don't know if there's many, if any team out there that can beat them. I know they're going to play Georgia. I know they're going to play Alabama. It's going to be very telling for all of us, but this Tennessee team is absolutely the real deal. We talked about Ohio State. They drop a spot because Tennessee jumped them. Tennessee has a significantly better win than that of Ohio State. So Ohio State's still a phenomenal team. It's going to work itself out when they get into conference play and the Buckeyes start playing more difficult games, but we've got them at number 4. Alabama remains unchanged at number 5, kind of jumping Ole Miss a little bit. And I thought about it a little bit longer, and I feel like I wrongly had Ole Miss ahead of Alabama. If I had to put those 2 teams against each other right now, I would be picking the Crimson Tide. Lots going to be told about what this Alabama team is capable of on Saturday when they host Georgia. Ole Miss, they dropped 2 spots, not because they did anything wrong, it's because of the win for Tennessee, because of what Alabama has done in my eyes. Georgia Southern, they beat them 52-13. The Rebels still a top 6 team. And what's crazy about that, guys, if you look at that, our top 6, 5 of them reside in the SEC. 5 of our top 6 are in the SEC, which is unbelievable. It shows how top-heavy this conference is and how competitive this conference is this season. Number 7, we have Miami rising up a handful of spots for their dominant win over USF, winning 50-15. That USF team that took Alabama to the wire, took Alabama down to the wire in the 4th quarter. Miami went on the road and absolutely destroyed them. Cam Ward, the Heisman favorite, and for good reason. Penn State beat Kent State 56-0. They are looking very good on both sides of the ball. Utah back in our top 10 following their dominant win over Oklahoma State. And I say dominant because of a 22-3 game before they let the Cowboys crawl back into it late in the 4th quarter. Utah was in complete control of that game from start to finish, and they did so with a backup quarterback, Isaac Wilson, leading them to victory instead of Cam Rising. Watch out for the Utes. I picked Kansas State to win the Big 12 back in the preseason, but right now the Utes are absolutely looking like the best team in that conference and the favorite to win that conference. So they are in our top 10 following a big-time road win over the Cowboys. And then Oregon, they were on a bye. They drop a spot because of what Utah did. They jumped them there. Obviously, a better resume already for Utah with that win over Oklahoma State. Better than really anything Oregon has done. Best win was, Boise State. But the Ducks to us still a top 10 team. So there's our top 10. A lot of shakeups there. Tons of movement. Not many teams staying in the same spot. Tennessee, maybe the biggest mover there. Miami moving up 3 spots to number 7. All those teams to me, top 10 caliber. But again, it will continue to work itself out as we enter conference play, as we enter some pretty big matchups this weekend. We're going to jump into the rest of our rankings here in 1 second. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. We've got a new sponsor for the show this season, Chris Gates Fitness and his online fitness training camp. Training Camp is a monthly fitness program designed specifically for football fans, and it's like nothing I've ever seen before. With hundreds of different workouts and exclusive content such as the calorie calculator and, my personal favorite, the low-calorie, high-protein tailgating cookbook, Training Camp is a must for any football fan looking to get or stay in shape. With Chris as your coach, you'll get top-notch guidance. He's been coaching people online since 2018, and like all of you watching, he's a die-hard football fan. His clients consistently get results by implementing a flexible approach to diet and exercise. So if you're interested in getting brand new workout programs every month, fitness challenges every month to push you to develop healthy habits, challenges within the Training Camp community like weekly football pick'ems, access to live Q&As where you can get direct, personalized support from Chris with your health and fitness, and the support of a community of people there to encourage you every step of the way, you need to visit chrisgatesfitness.com/Gridiron Expert, the link down in the description below. Learn more, sign up today, and use our promo code GRIDIRON to get your first month for just $10. Running through the rest of our rankings, we'll go a little bit quicker here. Missouri drops 5 spots following their double overtime win over Vanderbilt. That's just purely unacceptable. You cannot beat Vanderbilt in double overtime. Really should have lost to the Commodores, we should add. Really should have lost to Vanderbilt. You can't call yourself a top 10 team and then barely beat Vanderbilt in 2 overtimes at home. That's just not acceptable. So Missouri does drop 5. They drop 5 because of the poor performance. You factor in what Tennessee has done. You factor in what Utah did. Factor in what Miami has done. All those teams jumping Missouri, being better than them so far this season. Missouri outside the top 10, but still a top 15 team right on the outside at number 11. Michigan, how about that? Back into the top 12. They look, left for dead. No offense, just beaten down. They looked bad against Texas, bad against Arkansas State. They were going to lose to USC, we all thought, and they didn't. They found a way to pull out the win at home against the Trojans and maybe found some new life in Ann Arbor. So that big-time victory, technically an upset. The Wolverines were the lower-ranked team. They were the underdog in that game, but were at home, pulling off the upset, if you will, over USC. They rise up 8 spots in our rankings back into the top 12. USC, though, for us stays the same. And why is that? Why does USC not fall? Well, number one, USC really benefited from a lot of teams losing around them, right? Kansas State, Oklahoma State were all around USC in our rankings. They all lost. The teams behind them, I don't think are worthy enough to jump that of USC, who lost literally in the final seconds to Michigan. They were winning that game. Michigan scored on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line with like 30 seconds left to pull out the 3-point victory. USC beat LSU. They're going to be ahead of LSU in our rankings. USC over Iowa State right now, I think it's acceptable. Over Illinois, Notre Dame, those were acceptable. So USC, a very hard-fought game in Ann Arbor, a game they really were just seconds away from winning despite a handful of mistakes. I like them still at number 13. Don't change in our rankings. LSU, again, not going to put the Tigers ahead of the Trojans. They did lose the head-to-head back in week 1, but the Tigers do rise 2 spots following their 17-point victory over UCLA in Death Valley. Really not that impressed by that. Should have probably won by a lot more considering how bad UCLA is, but win's a win, right? Win's a win. Iowa State, I'm really high on the Cyclones. They are an elite Big 12 title contender this year. They move up 2 spots following their win against Arkansas State, 52-7. Again, a lot of these teams moving up because of the teams that lost ahead of them. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, really taking advantage of those losses there. How about Illinois, though? They rise up 7 spots. One of the biggest risers in our rankings this week. They go on the road and take down number 22 Nebraska, 31-24 in overtime. Brett Bielema's squad, they could be the real deal in the Big Ten this year. They've got a balanced offense, a stingy defense. They really play with a lot of fight and grit, and then nothing really keeps them down. I've been very impressed by the Fighting Illini this year. We've got them in at number 16, a top 20 team. we'll really see what Illinois is made of over the next couple of weeks. 3 of their next 4 games come against some of the best teams in the Big Ten. Next week, it's against Penn State. Then they've got Michigan later on. They've got Oregon later on. Those are 3 of their next 4 games. Some of the best teams in the conference. How will the Illini fare? If they can just win one of those, I consider that a massive success. Notre Dame and Louisville both moving up a spot respectively. Notre Dame beating Miami, Ohio. Louisville beating Georgia Tech. Those 2 teams will meet this Saturday in South Bend. We'll have our prediction video out for that on Thursday, so stay tuned for that official prediction between the Cardinals and the Fighting Irish. Clemson has an offense destroying NC State 59-35, a massive win for the Tigers against a backup quarterback at NC State. But Clemson's offense looked phenomenal in that game. Everybody thought they were left for dead after that Week 1 loss to Georgia, but they are seriously looking like one of the better teams in the ACC right now. Wide open conference. Miami's still the king, but watch out for Clemson. BYU, they deserve to be ranked. They deserve to be ranked in the top 20. They are undefeated. They just annihilated the number 13 team in the country in Kansas State 38-9. And they still got a win over SMU on the road on their resume. People aren't talking enough about that for BYU. This is the same SMU team that just torched TCU this last Saturday. So it's a pretty solid road victory, Power 4 road victory for BYU. And then to beat one of the Big 12 favorites at home by 29 points is absolutely unbelievable. So BYU may be a dark horse in the wide open Big 12 this year. Really like what Kalani Sitake's squad's doing on both sides of the ball. We've got them in at number 20. Yes, a top 20 team going from unranked to that spot. Our final 5, kind of expected here. The teams that lost last week, right? I will say Nebraska, we had ranked at number 22. They fell out. We had Northern Illinois ranked at number 24. They fell out. I told you. A few weeks ago, I told you that Buffalo game was a major trap game. A few weeks ago, people said, why wasn't Northern Illinois ranked immediately after Notre Dame? I said, watch out. That's what happens. Sometimes those wins are not necessarily flukes, but they always, kind of regress. Riding that high off of a big win, they end up falling in a game where they shouldn't. It's exactly what happened in Northern Illinois, losing at home to Buffalo. So both those teams fell out. Oklahoma State dropped 7 following their loss at home to Utah against a backup quarterback. The Cowboys, yes, a top 25 teams that only have 1 loss, but again, I fear for them as they progress through conference play. They really should have 2 losses on their schedule right now. They should have lost to Arkansas. They did lose to Utah, and the road's not getting any easier for Mike Gundy's squad. They've got to figure out a lot of stuff, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Kansas State drops 10 spots following that loss to BYU that we just mentioned. The Wildcats have a lot to figure out there. That game really was because they committed so many mistakes. Got to cut back on the turnovers. Got to cut back on the mistakes. A learning experience for a young team and a young quarterback in Avery Johnson. Oklahoma down 8 following their loss at home to Tennessee. Like we mentioned earlier, the Sooners have major questions on the offensive side of the ball that they've got to hurry up and figure out as they prepare to play a brutal SEC schedule this year. And then rounding out our top 25, 2 Group of 5 programs, UNLV and Boise State, both in the Mountain West. So talk about some intrigue there. One of these teams could be the highest ranked Group of 5 champion, which means they could go to the college football playoff. We've got the Rebels above the Broncos right now. They were on a bye week this last week. Boise State did beat Portland State 56-14. But I love the Broncos. They were my pick to make the college football playoff out of the Group of 5. They will remain that way for now, but currently I do have them ranked lower than that of UNLV. But again, that could all start to work itself out as we enter conference play. Boise State, a massive game this Saturday against Washington State. We'll be breaking that game down tomorrow right here on the channel. So there you go, guys. Our Week 5 GE Top 25. Lots of shakeups, lots of movers, lots of fallers. Got 2 new teams in BYU and Boise State joining the group. We'll have a few new teams next week, I'm sure. Tons of massive shakeups coming your way. And again, we'll be doing this every single Monday. You do not want to miss it. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our exclusive expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. You do not want to miss out on those. Go sign up today before our picks are posted on Wednesday, and you get access to that exclusive betting newsletter. So hurry up, sign up for those before Wednesday gets going. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.